Hey, this is the Level 7 News. My name's Andrew Biss. How are you all? I wanted to make a quick video about radiation and climate change. Radiation being the real environmental risk, climate change being a big paper tiger. There was a fire at the Yamaguchi depleted uranium facility recently. Apparently the radiation readings have gone from 0.4 microsieverts an hour to 9 microsieverts. So it's a real danger that the area of Yamaguchi, formerly relatively untouched by radiation, the area in which many survivors had moved or evacuated, is experiencing significant radiation. Professor, nuclear scientist, Professor Kunihiko Takeda, based on some independent readings he was getting from a source near Fukushima, has said that according to his models, they are just his models, but I would trust his judgment more than the Japanese government. He said that based on these readings, Japan will be uninhabitable from about March 2015. So it's purely his modeling and his estimate, but based on the radiation readings he's been getting, because it's very hard to get any solid readings because governments shut all readings down. All the public Geiger counters, it's all been citizen activists, taking measurements around the country. But his source, based on his source's radiation readings, he estimates that the accumulation of radiation fallout, will make the country of Japan, the whole of Japan, uninhabitable. He estimates that the whole country will be exposed to the equivalent of 5 millisieverts per year. So, a microsievert being 1,000th of a millisievert. So you can imagine that the Yamaguchi facility, 9 microsieverts an hour doesn't seem very much, but you take that over a year and times it by how many hours there are in a year. There are about 8,700 hours a year, I believe. So that's a lot of radiation risk. And if you're experiencing 5 millisieverts a year, a millisievert again being 1,000 microsieverts, that's a very, very heightened risk of radiation, developing cancer from radiation down the line. I believe that nuclear workers have a safety maximum radiation exposure of anywhere between 2 and 20 millisieverts per year, across the world. So, if you get beyond 2 millisieverts a year, that's beyond safe limits. And these, are usually grown adult men and women who are judged to be, that to be their tolerance level, up to 2 millisieverts. We're talking about Japanese children, elderly people, pregnant mothers, women. Women are disproportionately affected by fallout and radiation, hot particles. So, can the whole nation state of Japan carry on? We're talking about a huge, sort of biblical sort of migration of Japanese people out of the country. I put it on my Facebook and didn't get any replies from anyone, or from one lady, but I think people are quite stunned, or they're still putting their heads in the sand. It is just monstrous to contemplate the nation of Japan ceasing to exist in its current locality, moving, those EU Times reports of these plans for Japan to relocate its population to parts of China. It's a crazy idea, but who knows? Maybe it's not so crazy if the circumstances merit it. Also, running out of battery power here. Also, with the climate change alarmism with James Lovelock, accelerated with the announcement by James Lovelock that yes, he was an alarmist, and Tim Flannery and Al Gore, he thinks, have also been alarmist in their estimates for climate change affecting the Earth's rising seas or things like that, or melting the ice caps. So yeah, I said that the Australian news media didn't really mention it at all, and they didn't. But a couple of days after the story broke, there were a couple of articles in the Australian newspaper, also I think the Herald Sun. Now they were they didn't really report on the initial admission of alarmism, but the subsequent reactions by climate scientists who are keeping the global warming faith. They were basically airing the views of scientists who still hold to global warming, quoting them, throwing James Lovelock under the bus, basically. So so they reported on it, but they reported on the backlash, basically, only the backlash against James Lovelock. So James Lovelock is sort of a hero, anti-hero in this situation, because he's telling the truth. He's saying, oh well, our models were wrong. Global warming isn't really happening at the pace we thought. His direct quote was, "We don't exactly know what's happening with climate change. We don't really understand climate change. We're not really sure if it could be a hot age or an ice age." So yes, it doesn't really merit a carbon tax. But anyway, a couple of climate scientists were quoted throwing their global warming guru under the bus, very in a very sort of dismissive manner. So yeah, Michael Mann, Dr. Michael Mann, if you could call him a doctor, he said that James Lovelock's his pronouncements are not were not showing an understanding of the current science, state of climate science. So they're saying that he's just lost the plot, basically. Kevin Trenberth, also another climate alarmist, he said that James Lovelock has no little or no understanding of climate science. So yes, ouch, for you. So let's hope for the best with Japan. As I said before, there's no reason to be fatalistic, but we also have to be realistic about what's the prospects are for Japan and our world. We have to do what we can to warn others and prepare for ourselves, and really consider what the real risks are, and as we have a responsibility for, I believe, to help as many as we can. Okay, that's it for me. Andrew Biss out. Have a good night. Take care. Bye.